Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Acharya Das Thakur ki jai, Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Radha, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktarinda ki jai, Smale Bhaktarinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Gaur, all glories to the Saint, all glories to the Saint, all glories to the Saint, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, glories to Shri Guranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 1, text
44.
44.
Or it's 43, but there was no purport. So I took 44. We read it together so that the shloka is connected with the purport.
But 43 I didn't read yet.
No.
Okay.
At least.
So I can start with 44. Etermo vigyata sthanam dandasya yujyate sarve karmanurudhena dandam arhanti karinaha. Translation. The candidates for punishment are those who are confirmed by these many witnesses to have deviated from their prescribed regulative duties. Everyone engaged in fruitive activities is suitable to be subjected to punishment according to his sinful acts. Text 44. Sambhavanti hi bhadrani viparitani chanagha karinam gunasangoshti dehavan nahi akarmakre sambhavanti bhadrani viparitam chanagha karinam gunasangosti devanan akarmakre sambhavanti bhadrani viparitani chanagha karinam gunasangosti devanan akarmakre
Sambhavanti bhadrani viparitani chanagha karinam gunasangosti dehavanaya karmakrit
Sambhavanti bhadrani viparitani chanagha karinam gunasangosti dehavanahi akarmakrit
Sambhavanti bhadrani viparitani chanagha karinam gunasangosti dehavanaya karmakrit
Sambhavanti
indeed
bhadrani auspicious pious activities
viparitani
just opposite
inauspicious sinful activities also
anagha sinless inhabitants of
Vaikuntha
karinam of the fruitive workers
Gunasangha
contamination of the three modes of nature
contamination of the three modes of nature.
Asti,
there is.
Dehavan. Anyone who has
accepted
Anyone who has accepted
this material body,
this material body,
na,
not
he,
indeed,
Akarmakrit,
without performing action.
without performing action.
Translation. O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless, but those within this material world are all karmis, whether acting piously or impiously. Both kinds of action are possible for them because they are contaminated by the three modes of nature and must act accordingly. One who has accepted the material body cannot be inactive, and sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the modes of material nature. Therefore, all the living entities within this material world are punishable. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The difference between human beings and non-human beings is that the human is supposed to act according to the direction of the Vedas. Unfortunately, men manufacture their own ways of acting without reference to the Vedas. Therefore, all of them commit sinful actions and are punishable. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutala Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinam Namaste Saraswati Devam Gurvani Prachani Nirvishi Shishimvani Vishkati Visatam. O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless, but those within this material world are all karmis, whether acting piously or impiously. Both kinds of action are possible for them because they are contaminated by the three modes of nature and must act accordingly. One who has accepted the material body cannot be inactive, and sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the modes of material nature. Therefore, all the living entities within this material world are punishable. So this is a clear verdict given here. That this material world in itself, it's already a punishment. You know, it's already designed like that. And people don't like to hear the word punishment, of course, because they are not aware what have they done. You know, a person who will not even understand what he has done, he will not accept punishment either. Just to accept the concept of punishment, you have to be accepting already the concept of sinful action. If there is no concept of sinful action, then why there should be a punishment? Therefore, they always try to move the border, even materially spoken, legally spoken. They always try to move it further and further to remove the concept of punishment. Like, you know, when you get punished nowadays for or not punished, well, you used to get punished for that. I remember that. They always speak about the primitive Middle Ages, but I saw devices, you know. The punishment in the Middle Ages was administered in a quite simple way. You cut off somebody's head, that's quite a simple thing to do. And everything was done publicly. There was no private courtroom like that. In the original sense, it was all public. So people are aware publicly that this person is guilty or not guilty. You know, so it was conducted quite in a public view. They had devices for it. I saw women gossiping in a village. That was actually considered to be punishable. If somebody was notorically gossiping in a village, he was awarded for the next Sunday feast, when everybody was heading for the church. A woman like this was chained to a pole in front of the church. You know, she got some, zinc chain around the neck, and she had a special iron, mask pulled over her head with some kind of tongue sticking off, the tongue was just dangling around to show that this woman with her poisonous tongue can cause so much harm. So being exposed like this, of course, was highly embarrassing. Social pressure is a powerful tool, that for most, especially Shudras, you can threaten very nicely by social pressure. Even they admit that, they don't want to admit that, but everybody is very aware how he looks in a public way. Like in Denmark, you have always this public outlook. We are cool, doesn't matter. Want to walk naked? Walk naked. We are cool here. But that's also a social pressure in itself. If you walk around here with a suit and tie, and you act like, like some English gentleman, you will be considered highly suspicious, or puffed up, or arrogant. you don't deviate from the local standard of behavior being given. Don't try to be something else. Don't try to be more as the others. Don't try even to be different. Even amongst the hippies, very quickly, the first hippie who grew his hair and dressed in a very casual way out of protest. But once there were 10, 15, 20 of them, well, it became like a uniform on its own. You cannot be a bald-headed hippie. It's out of question. You have to have a long hair. And you have to take this kind of ganja. And you have to smoke this. And you have to try that. And you have to talk that kind of nonsense. Then you are a bona fide hippie. So everything turns into a, socially pressurized mode of behavior, all as described here under the modes of nature. It's very dangerous to be under the modes of nature because you really don't know what you are doing. The modes of nature will force you to act like a remote control gizmo. Therefore even Jesus summarized, he said, don't hate the sinner, hate the sin. That's because they are all under remote control. But of course, how did you get under that control? And that makes us actually eligible for punishment. It's not actually even the action in itself, that's already a product of the initial step that we actually entered a mechanism. We got intoxicated voluntarily. That was our choice, yes. I want to enjoy separately from Krishna, and here comes the reward. A total control from the material energy. Absolutely. This is the basic element in preaching. If people don't get this, there is no use to talk to them about anything else. There's no even Prabhupada saying, we don't talk here about God. We are not concerned with this. That comes later. Now let's speak about the basic thing. Are you controlled or not? Are you dying or not? Are you getting sick or not? Are you getting old or not? This is imposed upon you all the time. You don't want this, it's coming. You cannot escape. So when people understand it, they become more humble. And maybe they even start to ask the question, how did this happen? How did I came into that situation? Why? What did I do? And because we don't see the cause, as the Chinese proverb goes, and intelligence means to see things in their origin. Because we don't know the origin of the whole thing, we are caught by surprise by the effect. Oh, now it's happening. It's like children playing with matches, and then they see, oh, the whole house is burning. How did it happen? Well, you were the one who played with the matches. You started some spark, it ignited fire, and now we have the result. So people are constantly caught by the reaction of their action, but because they don't know what the action was really about, so they are just surprised by the reaction. That reaction will force me to perform a certain type of action. By that action I create another reaction, and in this way constantly getting wrapped and constantly being, confronted like like a simple example, as Mr. Goswami used to give the example. People start to get lazy to walk. Previously people were walking long distances. I remember I was living in a small Czech village. Still the old villagers told me, yeah, we had our road, pathway, and we went on certain days to the local market in the next nearby town, which was approximately 14-15 kilometers away. And they were carrying all the goods they wanted to sell in the marketplace, including the little pig, they had it around the neck. And they were carrying it through different pathways through the forest. They had all kinds of shortcuts. And then finally arrived at the market. And then hopefully they sold everything, and in the evening they went back again. I mean, that alone is 30-kilometer walk, And they didn't mind. This was normal. You want to get somewhere, you walk. Isn't that? And then maybe you have a horse. That's it. Oxen cart. That's it. That's finished. But then somebody got the idea, no, actually, so much work to walk, and it's so demanding, and let's have a horseless carriage. So he added, some steam engine to that, developed by Mr. Benz, and I think it was his wife, Mercedes or something like this. And then they were sitting, there was a carriage driving with no horse to it. And it was going, people are going, this miracle. I remember when the first cars used to drive through the villages, the kids were running out. They were sniffing the exhaustion pipe, the fumes. For them it was like perfume. They never smelled anything like this before. a burnt gasoline. They were like, what a wonderful machine, it smells so nice. And it was really an adventure. Even my father told me, when he went in the summertime from Prague to the village where they spent summer, which was 40 kilometers, they drove with a car with a special driver. There was there was very few cars. And the driver, he owned a really old car, a really solid piece, and they had to fill in the water 3 times on the way to the cooling system. They had to always stop, fill the water in, and then they kept on driving again. After a while it started to smell, so they filled the water in again. That's how the cars were driven. So somebody was thinking, look, we don't walk anymore. It's so convenient. You just sit here and go blah, 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 and everything is fine. The only problem was that he found very quickly, this car don't drive on oxygen. You need something to fill it in. Then came up the gas stations. But not only that, but these cars, you couldn't, as fast as they were driving, well, you needed some road for it also. So you start to change the whole road system. And the faster they were driving, the more complicated the road system got. The landscape started to change, from the pathways and from the simple roads driven usually by horses. Suddenly it changed into asphalt. Asphalt came. Nobody knew before what asphalt is. It's a genius substance, asphalt. If it's the old-fashioned asphalt, it cracks in the winter and it melts in the summer. So, so the asphalt starts to make problems, in the summer when it was hot, it turns into black soup. You step into it, it's incredibly sticky, and then you have asphalt and road workers. And then the whole professions came up, the road maker and the car mechanician and all this. And it was getting more complicated. The first original cars, Ford Model T, was designed in such a way that any farmer could fix it in his, next, to his horse carriage. They had it parked in a cow shed next to the cows. And when something broke, it was so simple to disassemble that the farmer himself could just fix it. And it was driving. Not very comfortable exactly. The comfort was just on the level of a horse carriage. But it was driving. And they were all excited. But then somebody decided, no, we have to make more complicated cars. Look, these cars don't even break down. So people buy a car for a whole life. And then we don't make any business. So we have to design cars which break down on a certain point so we can sell new ones. And then they discovered actually the business with spare parts makes much more money as the car itself. It's like here, nowadays they sell you a printer, cheap price. They don't tell you how much the cartridge costs. All the money is made on the cartridges for the printer. If you have a printer, you need a cartridge. And that's how they actually developed the whole technique, that actually to cheat people, more and more. Cheating came into picture. And then people were thinking, but we are so comfortable, look, we are sitting here driving, we are not walking. And then they created a whole culture around it, faster driving, more driving, highways everywhere. Whole landscape disappeared. They became just covered by concrete stripes. It's like one of these crossings, with the exits and everything. 2 highways meeting actually, one going north-south, another one going east-west. That crossing in itself takes so much space, like you could place a small town on it. It's that much, and there's nothing there, it's just concrete stripes. You cannot even probably graze cows underneath. It's just, you just wasted a huge patch of land just to turn around the car. And all the oil became a political issue. Where do you get the oil, where do you get the petrol? Politics came into the picture, it changed the whole thing. For one reason, that people are lazy to walk. For one reason. There are certain inventions in the human society done in the 20th century which speeded up this sinfulness so violently. People never even could be that sinful as with the help of the technology. Or like the invention of what they call, in Germany they call it was announced as the anti-baby pill. That was the first disease. Anti-baby pill. It's like anti-missile, It's like you shoot something and kill it, So that alone, that invention, make any woman free to have sex life all the time with no child. Immediately the whole culture changed just by this one invention. Everything changed. The moral rules, everything. Yeah, why not? You're feeling bad, do it. What? Take a little pill, no problem. And if you have a mistake, of course, all developed in France, there is a pill day after, which kills already the conceived child in the womb. So, new medical development, more sinfulness. And now we have a level of sinfulness. You could just, if people would get the blueprint where they are heading for, what a reactions they are getting. And we are getting from this slaughterhouse of humankind, we are getting people dropping into Krishna consciousness. So what do you expect? No wonder we have some problems. Just to hear the stories of certain Danish bhaktas would not make me to sleep. Sorry, I joined this movement. I consider myself to be a very progressive, avant-garde person. But I stopped maybe with one girlfriend, Actually two. The first one was purely platonic. And the second physical contact was out of despair. That was it. She knew it, I knew it. There's no future in this. We were like two suicidal persons, meeting, more or less planning how to commit, how to finish off our existence. It was so depressing. The only connection we had was an absolute depression. This disappointment. Depression is this medical word, but disappointment. Yeah, that's all we shared. Misery. Misery likes company. That's it. And that was it. Then came the devotees and said, you know what? Forget the whole thing. Brahmachari ki jai. And I said, wow, this is really simple. How do you do that? And he said, well, we're already doing it. So I was saying, wow, that's a really far-out solution to the whole thing. Prabhupada describes brahmacharya as the best anti-conception. You don't want to have any children, brahmacharya. It's completely bona fide. It replaces thousands of anti-baby pills. That's it. Actually, several lectures he gives on this. He mentions this is the bona fide, preventing conception of children. The concept in itself, just brahmacharya. That's it. So it was quite amazing that actually such a thing is even possible. Nobody dreams even about things like that. So this is all, people have no idea how to, they have no hope to stop being sinful, because they have no examples. Therefore, every devotee carries such a responsibility to act in a way which people can say, wow, look, that's possible. And actually, according to their concept, we should be a bunch of really depressed people, because we are missing all that fun they have. That should make us a really miserable people. And when they think, and when they see, he is actually skipping all my fun, and he's much more happy as me, so there must be something which is a bigger fun. That's a logical conclusion. What is it? Then I get curious. What is it? You have something I don't have. Because actually ultimate concept of renunciation is that you simply don't want it. Not that kind of renunciation that you cannot get it. That we are getting also all the time in Adore. People just cannot get it and enjoying. Out of frustration I couldn't get it. Well, if you don't develop a higher taste, how long that renunciation can last? Because as soon you can kind of get a hope to get it, and you try to get it again. And Maya comes always goes, no. You just didn't manage first time, because you didn't know how to do it. But now you are refreshed by prasadam, and you are more, together, so try again. The second one will work out. It's just that you didn't know how to do this. Now you know much more, so get it. That's Maya preaching. And then, and some people is there to just go out, try, bang. Go out, try, bang. I remember we had one devotee in Germany like this. Somehow his biggest weakness was he liked to eat fish. I don't know, it's so disgusting. But he always was just, he was going for the fish. And then, ultimately, of course, those days it created really a problem, because of the fish things, it was going. speak to me. You smell, you ate fish again. You know, in those days it was just, so ultimately he left. And because actually when he joined, he was such a social introvert, he couldn't speak even one word. So the only language he learned and the only social life he had was preaching. Some people are right, the only social life they have is just they preach. If they stop preaching, then you know. So, so he didn't know anything as to preach. So when he kind of blooped, left, well, the only thing he could do was preaching. But to whom? You know, to whom preaching? Of course, to men. Men is always a problem because men are a little bit more obstinate. They have a kind of very distinct false ego and they have lots of questions and doubts and it's more troublesome. So why don't you just find some woman that's really nice? I mean, with all due respect, women are easy to cheat. You have to tell them, you are very exceptional, you are very beautiful, you are especially in need of care, because the biggest caretaker, that's me, you know. And in this way, you can get almost anybody around. For what?